For more on this, we can bring in Ali Abushbak, a Palestinian media scholar and conflict researcher at New Media. Ali, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank
Now, Ali, the global flotilla Sumud is trying to break the Israeli blockade, as we've been discussing. Those two previous attempts by the flotilla stopped by Israel. How likely is it that this attempt will succeed?
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a good news that the international community attention about the Palestinian suffering in Gaza and the Israeli invasion in Gaza. So this is a good things that the international community take attention of the suffer of the starved people and who's suffering from malnutrition. The sample of this flotilla, the name it's Sumud. Sumud in English, it's mean steadfastness, or it's mean also resilience. One of the strategic Palestinian tool to resist the Israeli occupation that's adopting since the first Intifada in 1987. The name also it's giving the right for the Palestinian to steadfast and in their route in Palestine, in Gaza, against the Israelis' plan to departure the Palestinian from Gaza Strip to north part Gaza. Also, it gives the Palestinian fuel to stand and also among of the Israelis violation on the ground and abuses of the human rights on the ground. We have witnessed last time on live stream how Israel targeting a journalist, innocent and unarmed civilians. So it has several of sample like that for the Palestinian itself, who also frustrated from the silence of international community and the international actor without taking any action or attention for their suffering, especially with regard to starvation and malnutrition. Also, it's worth mentioning that this is not a first global flotilla to support the Palestinian and to break the Israeli blockade in Gaza that imposed strictly last 5 months when the Israel resumed the war in the mid of March. Also before it was Madlin flotilla that Israel intercepted in the international water, as well as the Handala flotilla. Despite that Israel intercept this flotilla to support the Palestinian and Gaza, who's desperate from the war, but this kind of flotilla, it's giving the hope for the Palestinian after losing their trust for the international morale and the international community, who's being silent in front of the Israelis' attack and the Israeli aggression on the ground. People are continuously displaced, and also it's worth mentioning and highlighting this. Israel up to now deny there is a starvation in Gaza, while the whole international organization, international media report confirmed there is a starvation in Gaza. Footage and the evidence reply and showing how much the people suffering and desperate from this kind of Israeli policy and against the civilians, especially we are talking about. So the name itself, Sumud, giving more motivation for the people who lost their trust, and this is one of the trauma, especially we are talking about the civilians in Gaza. According to Herman, there is a complex trauma when the civilians suffering from a many trauma and many traumatic event. They have a complex trauma that they can't resilience and they can't cope with it. So today coming this flotilla and to support the Palestinian and telling them from heart to heart, from the civilians to the civilians who are thinking about you. And we have seen a several of protests that taking the street in Western country, and it was a mass protest, and it was unrepresented before the number of the huge participants in the protest to support the civilians. This kind of flotilla telling the hopeless Palestinian, despite the actor and the politician who's not taking the stand with you, we are thinking about you. The morale of the international community is still exists.
Yes. Now, Ali, you were talking right right there about the famine that's happening, the images of starvation that we've seen. We know Israel has halted aid deliveries around Gaza City. That is also the area that the UN has said is in famine, and NGOs are warning that famine could spread. But for you, I want to play a couple of videos, because if you're on social media, you might be getting a different message about what's happening regarding the famine. So let's watch these videos for a moment.
If I were Israel, I wouldn't even provide matching socks to Gaza. But here's all the aid that y'all claim doesn't exist. Now walk with me. I'm here in Gaza, and all I see is food, water, and opportunity. But instead of Hamas distributing the ramen noodles, they're eating it all, and that's why their leaders are on Ozempic.
So, Ali, these clips are from social influencers on TikTok, on Twitter. You know, the Israeli government actually arranged for some of them to come to the border crossings to see where there are some food supplies that actually aren't going into Gaza, but so they can see that they're there. They did these videos. Now, if you're watching them, you're thinking, wow, what kind of famine is happening? It doesn't look like there's a famine here. That must be a hoax. So, you know, Israel apparently very savvy in using this network of influencers to deliver the message. What sort of impact are these videos having?
First of all, thank you for mentioning this video, because of also Haaretz newspaper, they are revealed that how much Israeli foreign minister, they are facilitated the enter of social media activists to enter the Israel and organized a campaign to counter the Palestinian narrative or Hamas narrative about the starvation, and they are spending thousands of $millions to support their narrative. In fact, this is one thing about the war and about the narrative war between Palestinian and Israel. Here's Adi Konstman, one of the scholars who talk about how social media become a warfare between Palestinian and Israel about the narrative. Also, David Patrick Karakosi said that Palestinians use social media to amplify their suffering and their also struggle against the occupation. So social media now, during this war, it become a very significant arena for both Palestinian narrative and Israeli. About the recent footage that you showed from Gaza, I saw this picture. I saw this footage. This is during that the ceasefire between Gaza and Israel in the mid of January up to the mid of March, while Israel allow for the humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, and the civilians start relieving and relaxing from the continuous war. So definitely there is some people and shopkeeper, they will reopen their shop for their livelihood.
Yes.
And about the starvation, there is no one can
Thank you,
deny
Ali.
it.
I'm sorry we've run a bit long here. We're going to have to leave it there for the moment. But thank you for joining us. That's Ali Abushbak, a Palestinian media scholar and conflict researcher at New Media.